bunch of different reasons. But tonight it's Wyndi Gayle's, I think, first talk show appearance. Is that correct?
I've done a few little panel shows here and there, but nothing like this. No.
Nothing like this? You nervous?
Maybe a little.
Little? It's just me. Ask Chuck. Yeah. Chuck will tell you I'm pretty harmless.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah. So you did it. Congratulations.
Oh, it took a while, but yeah.
So why'd it take a while?
Just, delays and, stuff happened with different people on the team. Things, came, life happened.
Life happens.
Basically. And the big C word. It slowed everything down for everybody.
Gotcha. Well, you look like you guys, like, I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but it looks like you guys were kind of doing, like, struggling with your own thing there for a little bit. Did that get better?
Better, but we're still working on it. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Me too. I finally, tomorrow is my first action check as a freelancer that I can somewhat enjoy. I moved in last week, so my last check pretty much went to rent.
Yeah.
I still got some bills to pay, but it's like, hey, I finally did it, I can finally enjoy something. So
you can breathe a little bit.
A little touch.
Yeah.
Just a touch.
Hey, that's something. Congrats.
Yeah, hey, it is what it is. And some other cool things are coming up on the horizon, possibly, which I can't talk about yet. But for that all said, I'm sure you're in that boat too. Actually, that must be like, I don't know how. I mean, I know you've been writing your own book for a while, but lastly, we'll speak real quick about Chuck first before we move on, and that's this: you're privy to all the stuff he's up to, right?
For the most part, yeah.
So, I mean, does it kind of feel surreal when you watch your husband kind of just do stuff, and you're like, he's doing this stuff, but this. It's just like, wow, cool, or is it like what's that like on your end? Like, it's just like, are you his confidant? Are you his voice of Sandy? Because I know sometimes that's what he is.
I wouldn't say I'm his main confidant as far as his comic related stuff is concerned. He's got a lot of guys that he talks to, certain ones about certain things, but for the most part, he's got a good group of comic book friends that he can confide in and talk behind the scenes and whatnot. I feel like I'm part of those conversations because I'm usually around for them. So I'm probably privy to information I wouldn't otherwise be privy to just because of the proximity. I think he feels too that I'm part of the conversation because I'm right there. So even though he may not be talking directly to me, maybe he kind of feels like he is. I don't know.
It's interesting. So how do you see yourself as a comic book creator?
I don't know. I haven't really accepted that that's what I am.
Why not? But that is what you are.
Well, true. I have one book. Well, it's not completed, but I know it will be. When I think of what I am creatively, I'm a writer. I don't classify myself as a comic book writer just because I actually enjoy writing prose more because I like getting deeper into the characters and whatnot than you can because in comic books you have to use the dialogue. If you have a really good artist, you get to use facial expressions and things like that to learn more about the characters and their inner workings and how they think and all that kind of stuff. In prose, you just get to say it.
Well, prose is great also because it's just like it's what you don't say. Prose is all about that, right? It's all about what you don't say. It's never about what you actually say. Yeah, it's important too, but it's almost like you're playing with the piano piece a very certain specific way. And when you do that, right, it's kind of fun because it's like, well, what are you saying? You're saying this. What aren't you saying? Why aren't you saying that? That sometimes is really interesting, and that's where the real character stuff really comes in with prose.
Well, exactly.
Comics, I mean, it's kind of right there. Like that, like it's kind of right out in the open. You have to do it visually in comics, whereas prose, you can do it with words.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I feel like I don't think there's really necessarily, I wouldn't say there's a limit on what you can do with art, but I mean, in a way there is. It depends on, I guess, the story you're trying to tell and the artist you have who's doing the work. You know what I mean? I guess in general, you can tell the story through the art. I just feel like with prose, you can get a little deeper into it. Like you said, it's more of what's not. In comics, if it's not said, you don't know it's there for the most part. At least this is just my opinion. I'm sure there's people that feel different. But in prose, if it's not said, it still could be in that character's mind, and you get to delve into that and kind of break that apart and figure out where that came from, why they feel that way. And you can't do that through pictures.
Well, you can, but you can do it. You have to do it differently. As
Yeah.
you get a little congratulations right there on launching your book.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Yeah. No, it's visual, right?
Right.
What you have to do with a comic is and this is a lot. It's not in your hands though, when you're the writer. It's in your artist's hands. Is you have to kind of go and make a decision on what picture, what 1,000 words the picture reveals, and it's like I said, it's different. The writer's not so much in control, but in prose, oh man, you can do all kinds of really cool stuff, right? You can just you can get into like the deep emotional stuff. You can lie to your audience, which is fun, right? You can actually lie to them if you know what you're doing, right? And right, and you connect with them on what they're feeling, and that's what prose is all about. Prose is all about feeling.
Yep.
And comics are too, but the writer has to kind of be like one part of that feeling, not all of it, if that makes sense.
Yep. It has to be a team effort. Like everybody has to have done their part in the comic to convey those. If you're able to pull off, say, an emotional story in a comic where the reader actually feels for the character and what they're going through and whatever, that's a combination of your story you wrote, the descriptions you gave your artist, how they portrayed that in their art, maybe a specific way it's being lettered or something. There's lots of different aspects to it to try to bring that together and portray that emotional aspect. And I know it's been done. I've read some comics that have been done and successful at being like that, but it's not easy.
Well, I mean, the one big advantage though you do have is you don't do it alone though in comics, right? That's the one advantage. And sometimes your artist will give you a really great idea. It's like, holy shit, I never thought of that.
Yep.
You're so much smarter than me, or at least that's my answer to the artist, right? I'm the pretty one, or something like that. I mean, maybe
that's such a great idea.
Yeah. Well, it's you have to like. That's the cool thing about comics. Comics is all about. It's a collaborative medium for the most part. You have you're taking it. Like I have a short story in an anthology. It's coming out in about. I'm not sure when it's coming out, but I wrote the story to it. The art. He's going to have his own ideas on what part of my story really works, right? And sometimes it's going to be like, that's freaking brilliant. And other times I'm going to be like, I don't know if I would do it that way. But that one's a little different, though, in the sense that I was hired to do it. You know what I mean? So I have the luxury / curse of distance, right? This is your baby. This is your work.
I don't know if I could write someone else's story. I guess in a way with this series, that's what we're going to end up doing because of what it's based on. The stories they were originally written, so to speak, by other people, and now we're taking those stories and rewriting them ourselves. But it's been so long since those stories were created that we're not going to remember all the details and whatnot. We remember the big events and we want to hit the beats of it and whatnot. But for the most part, we're kind of rewriting them. But they're still based on stories that other people wrote. So,
yeah. But I mean, it's how to put this. But this comic is though essentially this is yours. You're putting it out there. You're doing it.
This is my character too. So this is my story.
Yeah, so I mean, you're not going to be so unattached. You're going to be like, oh shit, this is mine. This is absolutely mine.
Yeah.
What if I fuck this up? And that's probably the biggest. It's the worst thing you can think of about it as a freelancer. It's also the worst thing you can think about as a writer.
Yeah.
Right? You got to put yourself out there. And I mean, and kudos to you. You finally have done it. Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah. Didn't. There was definitely points where I was like, this is just not going to happen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, comics are hard. I like the other thing about the comparison between comics and prose. Prose is easier. I can have 20,000 words of mine. Like, yeah, I've accomplished something.
Yep.
Right? Now, what bank will I have to rob to pay an editor? That's a different story down the road.
I have a free editor.
You don't want a free editor. I have found unless they're a really close friend, you want in this business you have to be willing to pay. And honestly, I think the biggest thing I've learned is the value of everyone's work. Everyone brings something valuable to the table. You should pay for it.
Sorry, I had a pop up.
No disagreement?
No, not really. And of course, there's always that concern, and I've voiced it to Chuck, is that there's some bias there. You know, when he's editing my work, and I'm sure he kind of feels the same when I'm doing his, that maybe we're willing to, without even thinking about it, willing to overlook some things because of who we're editing, you know? And I mean, I like to think that I don't do that when I'm editing his stuff, but at the same time, I kind of have to wonder, did I miss something just because it's him and I don't want to be too critical, or, you know, I try not to be.
Well, the thing is, it's not about being critical or not critical. You know him, right? And because you know him, really, right? And he's like, so when I watch what he's doing, right? You might excuse because it like the creator puts themselves in their work all the time, right? And you, because you have this unique insight into him, you see it,
right?
But it's adorable. Right, and to you, some of it's adorable. I'm sure some of it you're like, oh god damn it, but some of it is like it's really, really adorable because it's him,
right?
And so now sometimes it might not be the best thing for the story, sometimes, but for the most part, it is the best thing for the story. So I guess that's the tricky part with him, and him with you too, for that matter, right? Is because he knows you, he knows who you are, he knows how you think. And you don't want to fuck up and change that stuff because that's what makes the story interesting, right? It's not the story; it's the person telling it, right? But we have a tendency when we are. I have found this maybe just because maybe I'm just that kind of person. I don't necessarily. It's hard when there's money on the line. I put a better foot forward, than when there isn't. And and I honestly and truly admit this, ladies and gentlemen, I am a greedy bastard, and I'm totally good with this, but it brings out my best work for my clients when the time is called upon to do so. Right. So, and that means I'm taking it very seriously, and when there's a dollar figure there, it's easier for me to take it seriously. Now, if it's a friend, I'm not saying I don't help people like for nothing. That's not true. I do. I go out of my way to help a lot of people, but it's not quite the same kind of help, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want people to pay for, you know, something that's not your best, you know?
Yeah.
So you want them to get their money's worth, I guess. And, you know, it's a good work ethic, and I think that everyone who's getting paid to do a job should feel like they need to do their best at what they're doing just to earn that money that someone's trusting them to do this job, and they're paying them for it, you know? So, yeah.
No, that's just part of the deal, right? Is you just do that because it's the nature of the beast. if you like I said, that doesn't mean that, you know, again, I won't help somebody for free, but again, it just feels differently. It's like, oh, here's a pointer here, not like, oh shit, does this actually work? You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. So, but I mean, but also, I guess I should say it on the flip side, though, when you have a professional caliber people in your corner or family, you'd be foolish not to use them.
Yeah.
You know,
because it's expensive to make a book.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, is Chuck your official editor for this book?
Yes.
So yeah. So I mean, in one sense, I'm sure he gave you the family discount, right? Because it's just one of those.
Yeah, I did. But he's not the only person that went. No, I wouldn't say I actually had any other editors, but I did have two or three other people go through the script before I even had art started on it, and gave some suggestions and whatnot and some feedback. And there was actually one major change that was made in the script that was suggested by someone else. And I really thought it worked really well. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. So it really does pay. Not really, but not monetarily, but it pays to have, you know, more than one person go over your work, you know, because everybody sees it. It's going to see it differently. They're going to pick up on different things. It doesn't mean you have to take everybody's suggestions or advice or whatever, but it's nice to have all of those different things to kind of mull over and figure out which pieces you want to pull from to put together to make your story the best that it can be.
Yeah, but I mean, as good as the stories you write, there's things you just can't see. And what you're describing there in prose is called beta readers. Hey, does my shit stink? Right? And some will go, yes, they die. It stinks here. And you're like, oh,
I have not had not one person has actually read through my novella yet.
Yeah.
Not even my editor.
He's waiting to get paid.
He said he's waiting to get paid. Hey, you do the work first, then you get paid. That's how everybody else does it.
Yeah. First the book's finished, then you get paid. I know the drill. Because it'll be Friday. I actually hand in my last illustration for a certain book that just got funded. My first Kickstarter I actually was part of. So with my first published illustration credit, I never would have thought that in a million years I'd be a published illustrator. Hooray!
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to try to draw a piece and offer it as what I was going to call a writer's print. And I was going to draw something and offer it as like a stretch goal or whatever, just add it in with everything, or just slip it into everybody's packages and say, there you go. But I ran out of time. I just didn't have time to do it. Maybe with the next one, who knows?
Well, also this is your first one, right? It's more important to finish the project, right? Yeah. It's more important to finish it. It's more important to get it out there. It's more important to, it's more important for it to be right, the book to be right the first time. Yeah. The bonus stuff you can start doing with the next Kickstarter, and the next Kickstarter, and then the next Kickstarter. And next thing you know, you'll have an army of people going, "We love Wyndi," right? and then you can start coming up with crazy stuff like mugs and like permanent tattoos and like I don't know, like a pirate ship. I mean, make that the ultimate prize. Like
we do have ships in the book, not this book, but eventually there are going to be ships. So you know, who knows?
Well, I'm just saying, like I've learned this. Like one of the things I'm doing a project for a company right now. And one of the things I'm looking at is, I mean, not when you start, but when you have yourself established to a certain degree, right? You got to look at what I call as your Disneyland experience, right? So what's the stupidest thing you can imagine, right? And based on what I've seen on your story so far, a giant pirate ship delivered to your door would be like amazing. I'm not sure what you'd do with it once it got there, but it's like
do whatever I want.
Yeah, exactly. Arr, play Pirates in the Yard, right?
Right.
And there would be grown ass adults playing pirates in the yard. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would. I don't know if I'd be a captain. Maybe I want to be maybe one of those really, really like terrible scummy pirates that get beaten up like in the Disney cartoons. Like that would be the thing. Captain sounds like too much work.
I wouldn't. No.
Nah. But I mean, if someone always wants to be the captain, it's like, okay, we'll let him. And when he gets driven insane, he or she's driven insane, you win it through attrition. Everybody
exactly.
You win it through attrition. Like you get it eventually by default. Like default, yes.
That's in that vein. I want to be the lowest man on the totem pole.
Yes.
Yes. Whatever that is, that's what I'm going to be, because I do not want to be the captain.
Yeah. No, captain's too much work. It's way too much work. Too much grief. Yeah. Right? Right? You don't get paid enough, and all you hear is people whine at you. It's like, captain. Right?
Yeah.
Just chuck right there.
Can we get better food, or are we almost there? Are we there yet?
Yeah. Okay. Figure I'd say a quick hello to him if he was. But no, I mean, like that's the thing, right? So when you look at your Kickstarters and stuff like that, you basically come to this like you decide what it kind of want to look like, but then you got to build your audience, like wherever you're at in the totem pole. This is your first foray into comics, if I'm not mistaken. So if you get funded,
I had a short and an anthology.
Oh, that's hey, that's more than I got technically right now. So, right. So I mean, kudos to you, right? And that's still. So, but this is your first full like foray into it. This is so, yeah, getting it out there is the important part, like just totally the important part. And then, so this is a 3-issue miniseries. Is the full story in 3 issues?
This story, yeah. I mean, this is an ongoing. So each miniseries that we release is going to be about different characters. So this is Ranella's story. Well, it's her origin. We're going to definitely see her further along the way as well. But so yeah, but this is there's a beginning and an end to this 3-issue story. Yeah.
So it's part of a bigger universe.
Yes.
It almost okay. I'm not saying it's designed to be funny like this, but it almost kind of reminds me of Xanth by Piers Anthony. He introduced a character. He introduced characters in one story, tell their story, and then they be backdrops in future stories in the same world.
Yeah, that's very similar. Like I said, we'll see. Like, so this is Ranella's story, and we were just talking about this the other day. How we to keep the interest in characters, we can't just let them drop out for 2 or 3 miniseries and not see them again. People maybe lose interest in where their story was going because it's been too long since they've seen them. So like with Ranella, we've already talked about how she's going to come up in the next series. It may just be like one scene, but she'll have like one scene in that 3-issue arc and whatnot, just to keep the interest in the character going. And because there's a lot of, I wouldn't say loose ends, I guess, with her story at the end of this, but it's almost like this is her origin, and then when it's done, her story is kind of just beginning. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So I guess for the whole universe, then, is there a beginning, middle, and end?
No.
It's gonna go as long as you feel like it.
Yeah. We got a lot of characters that we already have, like we already have backgrounds of because they came from an existing, from a game. Yeah. But the fact is, like, that game, it ended because we stopped doing it, but it didn't end as far as the story of the game goes. It was just an ongoing thing. It was, just follow these characters and the world developed around them, and their stories just kept going and going and going. So as far as in the books, we haven't discussed if we want to have some kind of an end to this whole thing. The thing is, we just have so many different characters from that game and ones that we could create, to kind of fill it out or whatever. And a lot of story to tell, just based on things that happened in that game. So we could literally go for 20 years and not tell the whole story.
Oh, Okay, hold on. I feel like I tried to cut you off like 3 times there. I
No,
apologize
that's okay.
for that. No, I was just like yeah, like I always, when I do a story, even though I may have a whole bunch of stories in the middle, I have an idea. It's like, if I'm gonna walk away from this universe, where can I walk away from it? Like, right. And you have a couple of ones where it's like, okay, if it doesn't do well, I'm happy if I get to here, right. Now, if it does well and does everything I imagine it does, and everything but the kitchen sink, right? This is where I want to end it, right.
Yeah.
I've told a story with a beginning and an ending, and it's been wonderful when I got there, right? So, and yeah, so that's why I was kind of wondering about that. It sounds to me like you're just gonna let this go as far as you can, and maybe each 3-issue miniseries is a walking off point at some point, I guess, basically.
Yeah, at a certain point, yeah, that definitely could be the case. Of course, for the first however many 3-issue series, that's introducing all these different characters and expanding on the world kind of with each one and whatnot, and opening that up for what's coming. But eventually, after we've really gotten familiar with the kind of key characters and whatnot, and they've come together to tell a larger story, definitely there would have to be some stepping off point. Yeah.
But you're a long way away from that, and you're kind of just thinking about
yeah.
You're not really thinking about it. You're just going to get in there. So is this going to be the only way Kickstarter you do this year, or do you got issues 2 and 3 kind of already kind of done due?
I have issue 2 script's been done for over a year. 3's in the works. I've already started that one. So at this point, if I had the funds available, I'd have art being done for issue 2. It's like we're ready to go. But being an indie creator doesn't necessarily lend itself to being financially able to do what you want to do.
Well, yeah. I mean, we all have choke points, like we all do. Like for the last 2 years, I've had the choke point of money. Yeah. Right. I mean, we all have those moments. I mean, we're not going to talk about what's going on in the state of the world, but it's probably going to be, there's probably going to be some starts and some stops for the next few years for a lot of us because of the crazy nature of the world we're about to step into. Yeah. But I digress. I had that conversation yesterday on the podcast. If anybody wants to listen to that.
We all know that things are going nuts. That's all we need to know.
Yeah. We all know. Well, maybe not. If you don't know, folks, you should. Then we'll just leave it at that, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, as long as if you can find a way to keep yourself relatively consistent, it will work out.
Yeah.
That's the whole secret to this game.
Yeah. My hope is I just answered a bunch of questions. I did got asked to do a interview for a webzine. So they sent me the interview questions and I typed out my answers, and they're going to publish those. And that one of the questions that was asked was, what are my expectations for the release of issues 2 and 3? My hope is that I can release 2 by spring of next year. Now sooner if things work out. And then, so this is kind of like at the latest, spring of next year. And then the 3rd issue with the trade paperback would be like winter of next year.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure I this time I paused because it was like, okay, I feel like I jumped in last time. I'm going to make sure she got it. Well, no, 9 months between issues isn't too bad for issues 1 and 2. And hopefully, I mean, you never know too. Like if you hit the following this time around, like you hit a following.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go faster, right? But I mean, fingers crossed on that. But I mean, it can happen. So
yeah.
On that particular end of things, I wish you luck. I mean, it's awesome that you're doing it. I'm actually going to be doing prose in Kickstarter before I do comics in Kickstarter because I feel like prose and Kickstarter is still a relatively unclaimed field. I mean,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. Russell Nohody is kicking all kinds of ass. I mean, I don't have to mention Mr. Sanderson anytime soon. But there's a market in that. And that's where I'm going to go with it first. Comics. Also, there's too many of you guys that are really good right now. I have to. Do you know how hard it is to choose? Like when I do have money, which one do I support? I gotta tell you, you guys make this very, very hard for me. It's like it's your fault. I mean, it's just because holy crap,
I mean, you can really get yourself into trouble, you know. And you're like, man, I really want this book. I want this book. I want this book. And you're not even looking at, oh shoot, I got 5 of them coming out in that 1 week, you know. It's like, and then you realize you go, oh crap. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't do that. I have evolved. Okay, I still can't handle Netflix. I mean, I'm still not mature enough to handle Netflix yet. But my Kickstarter, but see, again, money has this thing of forcing discipline. This is what I've learned about money.
Yeah.
I can't burn all my monies on books I want necessarily at the time I want. Like, for example, I couldn't back up Nightwolf #6. Bothered me a little bit because I really, really, really like Rob's stuff.
Yeah, same here.
But when Snowpaw #2 comes around, I'm going to also grab me Nightwolf 6 then and there because I'm also just because, I mean, Rob and Mog have a really good book going. It's probably the best thing I've read this year so far. And it's also because then I get 2 of them for the price of 1. Because the other thing, too, I'm in Canada. The shipping hurts so much, right? And my dollar, let's be honest, like Chuck will tell you this, like my dollar is my dollar is pretty much a joke, right? You can trade it in for monopoly money at this particular point in time, and I'm not sure if the monopoly will actually be worth more. I'm not sure. Well, people will like the monopoly money more at the very least. Like, yay, Monopoly! Well,
hey, your money looks kind of like Monopoly money, so
it does. I that hasn't been lost on me at all. Like, you know, it's just been one of those. My money looks like Monopoly and is worth as much as Monopoly. Fuck, right? You know, right? No. So
hey,
like
we're all gonna.
Can you repeat that? Sorry. Can you repeat? Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I hit my plug and my stuff unplugged.
Hold on a second, folks. We are technical geniuses over here. I forgot my earphones. That's why I'm doing it this way. And
I'm having mic problems.
Yes.
Who's Mike?
No, it just came unplugged. It's fine.
So you said we were all going to end up like what?
I said we're all going to end up with Monopoly money sooner or later.
Probably. I'm very curious. Like, you can see where the next step is. The interesting question to me is what's the step after. I have this we like this is me. This is the closest I think I'm gonna get to politics in this episode. We've cooperated with the way things have gone, and we've ended up here. I wonder if in the next couple years, as we're going through this interesting time, to say the least, that it maybe cooperation with what got us here to begin with is the right idea. Just a little bit of part of me that thinks, nah, like maybe we shouldn't be quite so eager to cooperate. That's my 2 cents on that, because this cooperation thing has led us here.
Yep. I totally agree.
Yeah. So, but I also think, and this is something I've learned, is that, like, watching artists work together is something I've learned, and I think maybe this is our problem as a species, not just as a country or as a culture. We don't know our own worth. And I think we have this tendency, when we don't know our own worth, we have this tendency to take for granted the rest of the systems are. Who am I to oppose this, or this? who are you not to? Maybe is what we should be asking. Is this
Yeah.
really the right thing for us, for our kids, for our neighbors? Like having those discussions now, because you can see where it's going.
Yeah.
Right? You can see where it's going. I don't know if like, again, Canadians, as a general rule of thumb, you can ask your husband, tend to cooperate with everything. I have become a little bit more cantankerous in the last 2 years. I don't necessarily cooperate with anything anymore. I kind of go, what's in it for me? And again, maybe that's the wrong attitude, but maybe it's my attitude. It's like, what's in it for me?
Yeah.
It's the right thing. It's like, no, I want a little bit more than that, because the right thing got us here. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the problem is that we've all been conditioned, you know, like we've been conditioned to think a certain way, to accept certain things, to not, you know, not push, you know, don't push back. And that's the acceptable behavior. And it's just taking too long for society as a whole to realize that maybe that's not the best way for us to be.
No, I totally agree with that concept. Like I stopped, I think for me the breaking point was the pandemic for me, like the complete breaking point. There's not much that the news says that at this point, if I saw something on the news that told me that the sky was blue, I'd look up. I would legitimately look up, because I have become that untrusting of what I've been told. I had this epiphany about 6 months ago. Oh, not 6 months, about almost a year ago. Our cultures have no integrity or ethics whatsoever. Ergo, right, most of the principles we move towards are worthless, because there's no integrity. What's the point, right? Yeah. If you can't trust it, what's the point? And so now I am that cantankerous son of a bitch. I will push back. I will ask why. What's in it for me? I will go to this right after the voice and go, this is stupid. I might be the only voice, but damn it, I'm going to do it.
Luckily you're not. There's just not enough.
Well, there will be.
Oh, yeah. Eventually, yeah.
Yeah, because inevitably speaking, you can see it's breaking down. You can watch it. You can see it. It's breaking down. You know, okay. I'm always looking at what's happening. It's like the latest thing, like whether it's the shootings. By the way, totally against kids getting hurt, but I'm looking at how we're the presentation of how to fight this, and I kind of question everybody's sanity that are offering these solutions, because I'm not crazy about the AR-15, but it's also been there for 75 years, right? I don't think you can just write a magic law and it's going to magically go away like that. Just it doesn't work. And I think anybody that presents me that, I go, okay, what else are you going to do? Nothing. Why are you wasting my time? And that's literally my opinion, right? Why are you wasting my time?
Yeah, I come back to the fact that, and I don't talk about this stuff very often, but you know, a lot of people say that it's a gun control problem. Well, are there too many guns out on the street? Yeah, probably. But it's been that way for a long time. Like, you know, like there's, I don't know the statistics, but there's always been guns on the street. How many years have we had issues with people just walking into a building and shooting people for no reason? That hasn't been going on for a long period of time. So my thought is that, and a lot of other people have brought this up, is it's a mental health issue. Like, these people who are doing this, there's something wrong with them. The fact that they have a gun is just secondary. You know, there's something going on in their mind that's not right.
Well, for me, this is what I realized. Okay, there are 3 major shootings in the last two years. 3 major shootings. Now, where I think our anger is not directed in the right place. So that means if it's happening that often, that regularly, that means someone somewhere has figured out how to profit from it. That's what that means to me. And maybe what we should be doing, instead of going after just targeting the guns, maybe we should be going after the people making money on this.
Yep.
That's my opinion. And until we do that, nothing's going to change.
Yep.
Right. But anyway, well, we'll move past that very unpleasant, but yeah, unpleasant stuff. But yeah, but there's other examples. Like you can look at these things and go, option A and option B and option C on television is this really, really, really like Mickey Mouse solution. Let's really talk about it. If you want to change the world for the better, let's you and I and everybody else talk. And if we disagree, fantastic. Let's figure out, maybe we're disagreeing for a good reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. If everybody agreed on everything, then something's not right.
Yes. And in fact, if everybody says the exact same thing now, I also run away. It's like, oh, I know what that is, right? I know what that is. No, I'm out. I don't care. Like you said, but the sky is blue, maybe. Right? You know, just like that's where I'm at.
I have a daughter that would look at it and go, no, I think it's a little bit of a shade of purple. Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Just because they have to disagree.
That's fair. But yeah, no, like that's where we're at. Like as a society, like it's not working anymore. And yeah, like my sincere hope over the next few years is that we learn how to talk and we learn how to listen.
Yeah, I think we're getting there. I don't think it's going as fast as it probably should, but I'm glad that it's progressing.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're breaking. Like for me, it's easier to see kind of the box for what it is. So
yeah,
it's fun to flip it. But maybe that's also because I'm older and crankier and give less of a shit. Maybe that's the secret to my cantankerousness. And then I think to myself, in 10 years, I'm going to be a monster. Yeah, probably. Just because I just see the world differently. Miss Wendy. So, yeah, prose is your first love. So I just should ask, am I going to see a novel from you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. I definitely am going to be writing more prose. I'm going to write some novels. I actually have an idea right now. I've done some research and stuff to kind of start putting it together. Thinking of my first one being a collection of short stories. They'll be based off of Greek tragedies, but I want to take those tragedy stories. You know the story of Cassandra?
So, short stories is an interesting approach. I've always been a sucker. Did I hear that right? I'm gonna make sure I heard that right. You mentioned short story collection. Did I hear that right, or am I?
Yeah.
So I'm a big Ray Bradbury guy. I love his short stories. I love Stephen King's novellas. I love the short form has a magic all its own.
Yeah. So I want to do a themed book, and each short story will deal with a different Greek tragedy. But I want to take those Greek myths and do it in a medieval setting.
Nice.
Yeah, that's my thing. I love the medieval fantasy type stuff. So, and I really, really enjoy writing it. But the Greek tragedies really, like, they just kind of grab my attention. I find them very interesting and sad, and they can be very emotional. So you know the story of Cassandra?
Yes.
Okay, so she was my first one. We actually have a friend of ours who was in a band in Toronto, and they wrote a song called Cassie, and it's actually based on the story of Cassandra. And ever since I heard that song, I was like, I got to write a story about that. And that's what led to this. So I've picked, right now I have 4 different tragedies that I want to base stories on. And I'm trying to probably get a 5th one. I just haven't decided on it yet. So I think that's going to be my first one.
That's really cool. I'm actually doing a little bit of a Cassandra thing right now with my Alice story. I don't know if you know this. I did Alice in Wonderland as Greek mythology. I made Alice Pandora.
Oh yeah, yep.
It works really well. In fact, Alice in Wonderland and Greek and Pandora, they're the same story, just one at a more evolved point in time.
Yeah,
right?
I remember I heard you say that before, or you posted it somewhere.
Yeah. Well, no, and so, but in book 2 of Alice, it's through the Looking Glass and the Houses of Fate. So yes, I'm dealing with Cassandra big time. But also, I mean, the thing about Greek tragedies is Greek tragedies have this tendency to deal with fate. I think it's interesting to talk about fate, doom, and some of them are really like man, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. The one that killed his father and married his mom.
Oh, oh my gosh, I had it for a second and then I lost it.
Oedipus.
There you go.
There you go. It's Oedipus.
I was like Euripides. No, that's not it.
No. So, and it's such an interesting take on fate. It's solely such an interesting take on fate because the whole thing was if the parents killed him, never would have happened. But, you know, it did. And the tragedy was when the truth came out, right? Because he didn't even know. He didn't even, like, that was what made that so tragic. It wasn't that it happened, was that he had no idea.
Yep.
He had no idea whatsoever. And that's what made that so brutal.
Yeah.
Like so brutal.
I actually considered making one of my short stories with his mom as the main focus.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember if I decided to go with that one or not, but it's been a little while since I've worked on it. But I found that could be actually, I think I did actually decide that's one of the ones I'm going to use. That'd
be cool to check out sometimes if you ever send it my way. But I bring it up like that just because like Greeks, the Greeks dealt with fate a lot, and that's what made their tragedies so compelling. And studying that, and sometimes in these tragedies, very often the characters themselves are the victims. In my Alice story, although not really it is a tragedy, but although not in the way people think of it, Medusa.
Yeah,
Medusa is very much a victim, like very much a victim, and it was fascinating. Like it's been fascinating to write her because I wrote mine is she's pre-Gorgon. This is the story of how she becomes the Gorgon, but it's my take on it, which I think is much happier than what happens to her in the story. But it's hard to that's the thing. You feel sorry for these characters because it's like it's not their fault. It's totally not their fault.
Yep. And then that's a lot of the part of the tragedy in the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so will that be the next thing you do right after the comics finish the Kickstarter, or are you gonna are you just kind of picking and choosing right now?
I don't really have a laid out. Yeah, I'm not like you. I'm like, okay, this is stuff I'm going to work on, but I don't really have a time frame of when I want it to be done or whatever. I mean, I work a full-time job too, so it's like, you know, for writing prose, it's like, do I feel like sitting down and writing some stuff, you know, getting more added to my story today or whatever, and I could go weeks without adding anything to it. So I don't know. We just have to wait and see. I don't know how long it's going to take to get these different projects out. And I don't.
Well, it's fair.
I don't feel like I need to have a. I don't feel like I need to have a specific time frame for it. It's gonna happen when it happens.
That's fair. The only thing I would say though, even if with a full-time job, right? There is something to be said about putting a little bit of a pressure on yourself. I'm not saying, look, you do what you want. Listen, I'm doing this podcast at a Starbucks outside because I forgot my headphones. I am not the man to talk about responsibilities right now. But when it comes to putting pressure on yourself, sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes, right? I'm not saying a butt ton of pressure, but you'd be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to pick that one. And I'm going to do that one. I'm going to get done by this time. Now, what you do with it afterwards?
Right? Well, I have a list, and it's like, okay, these are all the different things that I want to work on, or I've started working on, and this is when I want to have it done. I've done that, but I hit the first 2 goals, and then I've missed the last 2. So,
but I mean, but did you miss it because of life stuff? Then that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah, right? Not because I didn't want to do it.
No. Again, priorities. Like most of us, again, I am not the adult here. It's probably you. I'm just saying it's probably you. I say it like that because I had the freedom to make choices. I had the freedom that you don't, because you have other priorities that I do not. Yeah. So I can make this choice and go with it and see where it takes me. You have to balance that with your kids, you know, your husband who may or may not want to see you once in a while, make sure you're okay and alive, and you know, you want to also know, you don't always just want to work. You want to have some fun, and you want to live a little in life too. And I can't blame you for that. I mean, and also, and maybe the most important thing, and then we'll wrap this up, because I get the feeling that you got stuff to do. I would love to do a fuller conversation with you when I actually have my earphones a little earlier in the day. Right? Yeah. I would love that. But for the purposes of this conversation and this Kickstarter, this is what I will say. It's like, there's no right way. There's no right time. There's no right. It's what works for you. Yeah. Right? As long as you are pushing forward into what you want to do, that's all that matters. The rest, meh.
I agree. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. So Wyndi Gayle, best-selling writer, comic book creator, world domination, maybe, like I said, that pirate ship thing. Consider that, like for your big one. We will deliver a pirate ship to your door. Make the mailman cry. Make the mailman absolutely cry. It's like, how am I gonna deliver this? I don't know. It's like,
figure it out.
Yeah, that's right. There's enough money here. You can figure this out, right? So that like, those are absurd problems to have in this life. That is the world we live in. But you do have a Kickstarter. I'm not right. So do you have the Kickstarter link?
Well, I don't have a unique URL, so yeah, it's not.
It's not an easy one. Isn't your Kickstarter live?
Yes, it is.
So you have a live link then. Trained professional.
I just can't tell you what it is. There's a lot of, it's long.
Hold on a second.
But Viscairian Tales, Marauders Masquerade.
One second here. One second.
Search that or go to my Facebook page.
We're going to do this right. Is it under your name? Hold on
here.
Kickstarter?
Let's
see if I can find you. Yeah, Viscairian Tales, Marauders Masquerade, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you're on there. I found you. Hold on a sec. See? Dun, 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 that's your project, right?
Yes, that's it.
So what's the 90-second spiel? What's the 90-second pitch?
Where we at?
Sorry, Chuck's just asking me where are we at on the Kickstarter?
Yep.
Let's see. We are at 63 backers, $1,223. So the spiel. Renella Bree is a naive young farm girl who is obsessed with the idea of being able to do things that rogues and assassins can do, like melt into shadows and move without making a sound. So she set out to find people that can train her to be able to do these things, so that one day when she hopefully finds the king's assassin, who she's absolutely obsessed with, he'll take her under his wing and train her. That's how naive she is.
Very cool. And you guys, it's well on its way to being funded. You can go check it out now. This is Wendy's first Kickstarter. Go back it now, right?
Please.
I may have to back it myself, or Chuck might beat me, right? It's just, but that is what's available right now. So Wendy, so let's say down the road when this campaign's over, you come back. We talk about the whole experience. Do it a little earlier in the day. I'll remember my earplugs. We'll have a good time. Does it sound like a plan?
That sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. This is Wyndi Gayle. Normally, I'd have streamed tomorrow. Unfortunately, due to circumstances beyond my control. Bad news, unfortunately, but I'll be back on the weekend. I'm going to be taking tomorrow off. I will be back Friday with the Drink and Draw with Kira Black. Definitely come check us out, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Wendy for coming on to the show. Next time we'll do a longer one, Miss Wendy. I absolutely promise. But good luck with your Kickstarter. It rocks. And for those watching, those listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. We'll do it proper, and we'll do it proper next time, folks. Take care.
Thanks, Josh.